Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Paige, this is Seeking Alexandria, and today we are coming at you with a medical monologue. And I've said this in the past, but as far as the medical monologues go, for sure, those will probably never fall in any particular order. I will talk about them kind of as the need arises. And what I mean by that is, like, if I feel like there's something that's weighing on me that needs to be talked about, I will say it. I feel like on sometimes there are certain things that connect on what I would call like a spiritual level, or something that's laid on my heart to talk about. And this has been one of those topics that I have felt really, really drawn to discuss for quite some time. So today's topic, as I'm sure you guessed by the title, is the time that I had to have 5 breast biopsies done in one particular breast. And if this like is gonna, make anybody pass out or whatever, I suggest that you quit watching now. There's no like video or anything of it, obviously, but I kind of wanted to talk about what happened and why I ended up there and all that stuff. And I don't know why this is sitting with me. This is something that has been weighing on me for quite some time. I have felt very, very strongly for about the last, I'd say, 3 weeks to film this medical monologue in particular. I don't know if there's just someone that needs to hear it. I don't know. I'm not sure. Or someone that maybe will need to have heard this to go through something that they're about to go through. But if that's the case, I just want to let whoever you are know that it'll be fine. I can't say that the results will be fine. I can't say that you won't bruise or be hurt, but what I can say is that it's a lot scarier than it really ends up being in the end. So basically how mine started is I had lumps. Really, really bad ones. They were all over, but the one that was really, really concerning was on this side, and they didn't know what it was. And I went and saw a gynecologist, and she kind of checked it out after my primary care checked it out. And just FYI, if you ever have to have this done, you're gonna start like feeling like you're the pig at the county fair that like everybody touches but only one person really buys. You know what I'm saying? Like you're gonna start feeling like you get felt up a lot. And I say that for the purpose of, I just want you to realize, like, at this point when it comes to something serious, like thinking that there might be something wrong and you need to have your vagina check done or your boob squished or your boob groped or whatever, at this point I want you to realize that they are just spots on your body. It's no different than going in and saying, will you check out the spot on my leg or my arm? Your private areas, yes, they're private. It might be uncomfortable, but if they are something as serious as something that could save your life, go and get it checked. I am one of the most awkward people in the entire universe when it comes to this. Like, I refused. I would not go get a vagina check done for years, okay? Because I was so insecure. And then after it was all said and done, I was just like, oh, that was stupid. And it was just because I was so insecure with like myself and my body and everything involved in that whole scenario. And my grandma always used to tell me, like, Paige, just remember, it's more embarrassing for you than it is for them. Like, to you, they've seen 1,000 vaginas in their career. You're just number 922 or 1,546. You are nothing significant in that respect. So, and I say all that because if you are uncomfortable like I was, or if you're a young girl and you ever feel something and you're like, wow, that's really concerning and it won't go away, or it hurts, or it doesn't hurt, or whatever, go get it looked at, because it's worth your time and your uncomfortableness to make sure that you're okay. Now, with that being said, I went in and I had felt that there was a lump that wasn't going away, and I had a couple of them that were like coming, and it was a problem. So I went in and talked to the gynecologist, and she basically explained to me, do I think it's something that we should be worried about? No, but would it be a tragedy to not look at it and then find out too late? Absolutely. She said, not only does it suck for that to happen with anybody, but you're a young girl. I would hate to see, something small squeak by just because we looked at you as a young female and we brushed it off. So we didn't brush it off. And instead I went in and they did a full workup on me. I had to have 4. I think I had to have 6 different mammograms done on both sides. That way they could kind of compare this side to that side, make sure it wasn't like a same tissue situation, make sure there was nothing here that wasn't here, and vice versa. So after all that's done and they determine, like, yes, okay, there definitely is something here, like we need to take a look at it, the doctor comes in And I should say, for all of this, the nurse was so sweet. Like, everyone that I encountered was really, really nice. And the doctor comes in, and you can tell that, like, I wasn't uncomfortable, because at this point I feel like, it was just what it was. Like, I was there for a purpose. And if that purpose was just to make sure I was okay, that's great. If that purpose is to find something that is wrong with me, that's okay too. But either way, I was there for a purpose. And, like, we knew it, he knew it. That's his job. And he's probably been saving lives or preventing illnesses or whatever for a long time. And it doesn't matter, because that's what I was there for. So he comes in. And he basically, he introduces himself. Hi, I'm so-and-so. This is what we're going to be doing. Is there anything that I can answer for you? He was very thorough in that respect, making sure that I was comfortable. And after I explained, I'm fine, I understand, I know why I'm here, blah, blah, blah. And I did, and it was very matter of fact for me at this point. Like, that awkwardness really does drift away when you realize, like, what you could be potentially faced with. And honestly, for me, it was such a humbling experience, because I thought, like, how insanely blessed I was. Like, if this ended up being something that was a problem, they caught it. And I am so blessed that I'm here early on. And if it's something serious, like, it is what it is. I've been getting serious diagnoses for a long time. It is what it is. If it's nothing, then I just took, a half a day off. I'll have a bruised boob, but, like, whatever. And it is what it is on that side too. Like, it doesn't really matter. So I was just very matter of fact about it. And for this portion of my medical, whatever you want to call it, I actually chose the weird route, and I chose to go this part alone. I did not tell anyone I was going. No one knew, because I didn't want to, A, scare anybody, and B, I didn't need anybody. I wasn't going to be under anesthesia. I didn't need a driver, nothing like that. And I felt like, for me personally, it worked out better for me to not have to worry about someone else's nerves. In other words, I didn't have to worry if someone else was going to be upset, or if someone else was going to cry or cringe or worry. I wanted to just handle it myself, and then I figured I would deal with the repercussions from there, which, don't get me wrong, that did upset quite a few people. But, it even to this day, a lot of people still don't know that I had it done. But it was one of those things where I felt like the less stress surrounding the situation, the better. And I was pretty at ease with it. So I figured, that's a lot less stress right there. Let's just stop at one, which is the girl that's got to get poked. So I went in, and he answered, questions or whatever I had. I was fine. And he, said, I'm going to ask that you put your arm up over your head, and that just exposes this entire side of the breast over here, which is where they were going in. And so I was like, okay, and at this point, you're just laying out. You don't get to have privacy. You're just like, hey, what's up? And there's no privacy at this point. And it's funny, because for as little privacy as you have in the moment, both the doctor and the nurse are very respectful, but at the same time, you just realize, like, it is what it is. And right as I'm realizing this, the doctor looks at me and goes, sorry, normally I'd buy a girl a dinner first. I'm sorry, and he made a joke, and it was funny, and it wasn't meant to be, like, perverted or anything. He was actually making a joke, and it was funny, and he lightened the mood. And if I had been more uncomfortable, I really think that would have been very necessary. But instead, I just fired a wisecrack back at him, and I was like, then where's my cheeseburger? Like, I joked back, and we were fine. And then he showed me the instrument they were going to be using. Now, this is where a lot of men, women, I don't know who gets this done, but this is probably where you would have had a heart attack. He pulled out a needle, and it was, yep, it was a long one. And the intent of this needle is actually, it's going to core whatever the mass in your breast is. It kind of cores it like an apple. There's a needle, and they put this in, and then inside that needle, there's like a little mouth. And so essentially they put the thicker part of the needle into you, and then he hits a button, and as he hits this button, he says, don't flinch. And at that time, inside the hollow part of the needle comes out this little mouth, and it shoots out, grabs a core sample of your thing, and then sucks back in. And that's basically how they get the biopsy. Well, for me, my lump was actually right at the end of my breast, right behind my nipple. So the areola area. And and he even told me, he's like, this is one of the most painful places you can have one. And I was like, of course it is. And so I'm just like, okay, I'm sitting there and I'm focusing, and he starts the initial process. So he takes the hollow needle and he puts it all the way up to, and he butts it right up against the mass. And then he's like, okay, I'm going to count to 3 and I don't want you to flinch, because if you flinch, so I'm like, oh, girl, I ain't gonna flinch. You could cut my whole tit off. I'm not flinching. So I'm sitting there. We're all good. Everything's fine. And he hits the ejectocito button, whoosh, and it goes, whoosh, and you could feel it. Now on the upside, I was kind of doing one of these, looking up at the screen that he was looking at to guide the needle, and I watched this whole thing happen, and I was like, what? I mean, like, I was shook by that screen. I'm like, that was like an alligator coming all up in here. So I was like, okay. And he goes, well, I'm gonna have to get it from a couple of different angles. Well, one wasn't good enough. So I think we ended up doing 5 or 6 on this side. And then we ended up having to go underneath as well, because there were a couple of other lumps that were concerning. So all in all, it was okay. Everything was fine. At the very end of it, and now at this point, he goes into the last one, and I'm pretty well thinking like, yeah, I'm going to need some drugs because this hurts like at home. And he's done, and he gets done, and he goes and gets me an ice pack, and he starts telling me, okay, I'm finished. And he covers up all the little areas, obviously, where he jammed the needle in, because that would be a sore. So he covers those up, gets me an ice pack, and he explains to me that, you will have bruising and soreness around the insertion points. And because of how many we had to do and where we did them, you will experience a large amount of discomfort over on the side all the way down your breast. Like, you will have a lot of discomfort. And so I was like, okay, I understand, I'm fine. And I had felt it hurting, but I put the ice pack in my bra and went on my way, went back to work. Not a big deal. I'm not about ready to miss a full day over this, okay? Your girl ain't got time for that business. So I go back, and I knew that I had had it done, but because I hadn't told anyone, listen, I have a lot of people in my life that love me, and one of them's my mom. So what's the first thing she does? She comes up and gives me a big old hug. Oh my God. I wish I could explain to you the level of pain I felt in that exact moment. She comes up, gives me a hug, and, my knee-jerk reaction, oh, hey, Mom, and I try to lift my arm up. I'm telling you, the arm got to about here, and I just collapsed back into it, and she's, what's wrong? And then I was like, well, I love you. And she goes, what's wrong? Instantly, she gets the mom, like, the what's wrong. So I tell her, and I'm like, Mom, I don't want you to be offended. Like, I didn't tell you because I knew that you would be upset. And I figured I would just wait until it was over and, and go from there. She, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? So I tell her what happened, and I show her the situation. Of course, she starts to cry because she's my mother, and now she's worried, which I knew was going to happen. But in my opinion, better you be worried now versus before, because it's not like that worry would have helped. So we go on our merry way, and, she checks them to make sure that they're healing properly. As my mother, she feels like that's one thing that she can do. So throughout the course of the next couple of days, week, for me, because I had the autoimmune disease I didn't know I had, it took me like a solid 2 weeks to heal from that whole bruising meets insertion problem. And that was some of the hardest 2 weeks. I don't think as a woman I have ever felt more of like a soldiering on badass than in those 2 weeks. And I don't say that to be like, I am woman, hear me roar. I say it in the sense of like, it was a reminder to me every single day of how, at first, no matter what those test results said, of how brave women are that aren't, I'm not even talking about me, I'm talking women that go and they face this kind of thing and they get the bad result, and or the you do have cancer, or you do have some form of something, and that's not where their journey ends with this. That's where it starts. That much pain and bruising and needles and stabbing and poking and privacy, that's where that starts for them, is what I experienced. And then it doesn't stop for the rest of their life. I mean, they go through, and God willing, they win the fight, but they're still getting checked and poked and prodded. And I was just overwhelmed for the next 2 weeks while I was healing. And every day I looked down and made sure everything was okay. But I just kept thinking, like, to have something that serious go wrong in an area of a woman where that's where they anticipate feeding their children. That's where so much of a woman's identity cosmetically lies is in her breast, and to lose that their breast at all, or to have it constantly remind you that it's going to kill you, like it's a silent killer inside of you, and to have that be such an identifying factor as a woman. I was just so overwhelmed with different feelings those 2 weeks. None of it was like I felt sorry for myself, but it was all just very eye-opening yet again, in the sense of like it could be so much worse, and I really just have to suck it up, because at the end of the day, all my test results came back negative and I was fine. But oh, by the way, if any I just realized if anybody friends are watching this, I am really sorry, because I should have led with that. Whew, sorry. This was probably the worst 15 minutes of your life, because I guess some people probably didn't know I had this done. And then they're probably sitting here thinking, I'm gonna kick her ass. Why didn't she start with she's fine? Okay, this was like a couple years ago, just to be fair. So it really was like in the past, but it's something that I constantly watch out for. I mean, as a result, they did tell me that, you know, there's so much chaos going on in my body all the time that I don't want to let any one area of it fall. Like I don't want to, you know, not check my breasts or get a biopsy, get my mammograms and all that, because I mean, just as easily for anybody else, it could skip right through. But because I have so many other things going on, I've got the tumor in the back and the this and the that, and it would be really easy for me to just, you know, overlook one area and then have something go wrong. And so I think what I want to say is this. After telling, I know that that story was kind of disjointed, but there were so many emotions that went through with that entire experience. And there are just a couple of things that I really wanted to like round out this whole story by saying. One, like I said before, get checked. Privacy be damned. Feelings, emotions be damned. Get checked. Make sure that you are taken care of, because I can't imagine if I hadn't, and if I had let my fear of someone touch my boob get in the way, and what if something had been wrong and I had just been so, what, I wanted my privacy, so I let a silent killer rampage through my body. No, I don't care what you do. Your life is more valuable than that, to you, to the world, and to the people around you. Get checked. If you think you need to get checked, get checked. If it's a financial or an insurance situation or a problem in that respect, there are a million free clinics around the US that will help you take care of that. I know that my voice is getting shaky as I talk about it. There have been several women in my family that have had this very similar scare. I guess I should say friends and family. And most of them came out on the better side of it. Some of them didn't. Some of them lost their fight with a womanly cancer, whether it be ovarian or boob cancer or whatever. And by the way, yeah, I do say different names to like lighten the mood a little bit, but it is very serious. I don't ever want to like take away from the seriousness of it. But I can't imagine any of those women would have not caught it sooner, would have not fought harder, or would have done anything in their power to stay on this earth for the benefit of their family. And it was such an eye-opening experience, because 3 days after, I think it was 3 or 4 days after I had mine done, I found out that a friend of mine's mom had actually passed away from cancer. And I showed up, and, you know, obviously my friend is he was, you know, notably upset, but trying to, you know, keep the brave face on and no tears and that kind of thing. And the whole time I was there, and the whole time that I was at his house, I just kept thinking how brave she was and how blessed I felt, because even though I hadn't had any results, and even though nothing had been concluded, I still felt like I was surrounded by such hopeful people. And obviously I wasn't about ready to say like, oh yeah, your mom just, well, I just had, oh my God, no. Okay, learn your timing. So obviously I didn't say anything, but in that moment I felt overwhelmed, and I've never forgotten that feeling of how sad everyone was, because they had just lost this very significant woman in their life, whether it be, you know, your mother, your wife, or your best friend, or whatever. And here I was realizing that this is such a serious thing and that there really are serious consequences for not going and getting checked and not going and handling your life the way that you need to. So the next thing I'm going to say is treat your life with the respect that it deserves. You're blessed. No matter if you see it, if you don't, if you realize it, if you think everyone hates you, you're blessed because you're alive. You have the ability to wake up and do whatever you want. And there are kids that are ripped from this world long before they get the chance to be anyone. And there are adults that leave this world when they have small children. And there are so many people that never even get the chance to fight because they find out too late. And don't be that person. Don't be the person that treats your life with such little respect that you don't even care to go look for the problem. If you think there's something wrong, go look. If it's time for your yearly physical, go get checked. If it's time for you to face the music, even if it's something you don't want to do it anyways. Because the reality is that by you not doing it, you're flipping a finger to the people that care about you. And I know that this is going to sound harsh. I know that I don't have a lot of business to talk for a lot of people, and I'm not trying to talk for you or at you. I'm just trying to say that from my perspective, I can't imagine not dealing with my problems. Because at the end of the day, I have an entire family that needs me. I have a crew full of guys that depend on me. And I have nieces and nephews that need their Aunt Paige. And it's not even that I can't imagine doing it because they love me, but it's because I know how much I love them. I mean, and let's be honest, they need me because I'm great, right? That's how you know that it's a good video. When you can't do it without toilet paper. Remember how I said at the beginning of this, there are some things that you know need to be said? I think this was one of them. And I'd also like to reiterate too that when I didn't tell anybody about me going beforehand, I didn't say it, and I wasn't trying to be deceitful, and I wasn't trying to be secretive. I didn't say anything because I knew that the people in my life needed me to wait. It needed to be that way. I'm not saying that everyone should do that. You know, if you're someone that you feel like you need the support of someone to go with you and hold your hand, or to go with you and sit in the waiting room, or to drive you because you need to take a nerve pill, that's completely understandable. You are not less of a person. You're not less of an awesome person. You're not less of an anything for needing someone. All I'm saying is that for my situation, it just would not have worked. And not for my personality either. I was able to stay much more calm and level-headed because of how I chose to do it. And I don't regret doing it like that at all. In hindsight, I probably should have waited to say anything until after I had the results, because it was a long 2 weeks of mama going, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" Like every day. So, and I don't blame her. I make fun of her a little bit to like hide the fact that it was really, really serious. I don't know if you guys have noticed by now, but humor is how I mask a myriad of problems, emotions, and situations in my life. But I don't like obviously hold it against her. And you know what? Honestly, it was a moment where her and my dad and we all really did come together at the end of it. And because I think at first they were the only two that knew. Yeah, I think they were the only two that I told at first. And because there was no need to tell anybody else. And after that happened, it brought the three of us together in a different kind of way, because, you know, my dad, the stoic-esque man, was good. And then he walked away, of course, and my mom was, and that was her way of handling it. And then I was just very relieved. And so I kind of come on here and I say this entirely long story that was not intended to be this long, all to say that think about the people around you when you make your life decisions, absolutely. But ultimately, you have to do, in that respect, what you have to do. If you need to go it alone, then you go it alone. But you also have to realize that the people in your life, if they say things, it's out of concern. If they ask questions, if they, like my mom coming up to me every day to see if the results came in until they came in. And by the way, after the first week, I was like knocking on the doctor's door, like, I need you to tell me those results. I don't care if I have to drive down to the lab and get them myself. I need you to tell me, because my mama over here, she's upset all the time. She's driving me nuts. And I don't care in that respect. But I say this as for the betterment of the world. Go find out. Go be, in some aspects, you got to go be like the bravest version of yourself that you've ever been. And I don't say that because I think this was like me being brave. I think that it was just, there's an element of facing reality that requires so much bravery, regardless of if it's with you or your child or your mom or your dad or your best friend. There's an element of being real and an element of taking care of your own problems, even when they scare the living piss out of you. There's an element to it that you just have to do. Because why? Well, because you're alive. And because you're alive, there are people that care about you so much. And because there are people that care about you so much and they love you and they've invested love and time and growth with you and into you, you owe it to them to try. At least that's how I view it. There is not one person in my life that I don't look at. Even the people right now that are mad at me, that hate me, and that won't talk to me. I still look at my life and think, those are people that I was better for having in my life at one point or another. And things might not be good now, and they will probably never be good again. And that is what it is. But I owe it to that opportunity to happen with someone else. You know, just because something bad happens and a friendship dies, that doesn't mean that you're not going to experience that strong and that awesome of a friendship again. But you won't know. You won't be here to experience it if you don't get your damn self taken care of. Better calm down before I start to preach, you know what I'm saying? So, guys, I think that that's where I'm going to end this video because, quite frankly, I could ramble on and on and on and on and on, as you've seen, obviously, with this entire thing. But again, I just want to sum it up by saying, if you guys ever do have any comments, questions, concerns, anything, talk to me. Hit me up in the comment box. If you have a question, if you need help, let me know. I'm here. That's what that's part of the reason I started this channel. I mean, yeah, there's makeup and there's fun and there's laughter and this, oh, this foundation doesn't match my skin. What am I gonna do? Okay, and that's all fun and fine. But at the end of the day, I ultimately started this channel for this purpose, for the realistic factor of it. And I want you guys to realize that I'm here for more than just that. And there's more to me than that. And if you ever have questions, you don't ever have to, feel like you can't talk to me. And that reminds me, I actually wanted to, I'll throw this in here. I'll probably throw it in a couple of videos. I have been thinking about doing like, and I actually was just talking to a friend today that brought it up, about some kind of like an advice video where you guys could either like send me questions or ask for advice or whatnot, and kind of get my feedback on given in certain situations, and I could do videos on it. Obviously, I wouldn't read your name or personal information if you didn't want me to, obviously. But maybe seeing if that's something that you guys would be interested in. It could be medical, it could be relational, it could be boyfriend-girlfriend advice, or any kind of stuff like that. I've seen and been through a lot, so I feel like that's probably where it comes from. And I just have that personality. I've been giving advice, both solicited and non-solicited, for several years. And it's been something that I'm actually really passionate about, and that I just love to help people, as you can tell. Like, I love to help you, whether it be giving you advice or whether it be answering questions about which brush to buy for your foundation, or whether it be like telling you that, this eyelid makeup sucks. It doesn't matter. I just love helping people, whether it be in one platform or another. So let me know if that's something that you guys think would go over well, because I could do that. I mean, I don't know. There's so many different options, and that's what I love about the internet and YouTube and having my own channel. Like, I can put anything I want on here. Is that not the coolest thing, by the way? Whew, I love it. Way off track. So you guys, let me know. Hit me up in the comments. Tell me what you think. Tell me if that's something that you think would go over well. I know that when you have less subscribers, it's kind of hard to do that kind of thing. But I think I have enough people that watch that, might be able to get interested in that side of things. I like to think that my channel is a place for not just like girls, and it's not just for this demographic. I like to believe that men, women, younger women and older women and men and younger men and so many different people can come in and out of my channel and kind of grab what they want and leave. And I like to think that that's a pretty true tried and true aspect of my channel. So all of that being said, I will put the social media handles and everything down below. As you know, you can always comment down there because I love it. You can like my video and you can do all the subscribing that you want because your girl's not upset about that. Share, comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Get the hair out your mouth because it's really nasty. Oh my God, I hate that feeling. Oh, it makes me feel like a German Shepherd. But I will talk to you guys all later. Bye.